Time has a quiet way of softening things. A few weeks had passed since Jake showed up on Claire's porch. The leaves in Silver Glen had turned from gold to brittle brown. And the wind carried that particular chill that warned of an early winter. Life continued with its usual rhythm: morning school runs, grocery lists, laundry, but beneath it all, something had changed. There was a new presence in the house. Not loud or demanding, just present. Jake didn't try to force himself into Henry's world. Instead, he showed up where it mattered. He helped with homework he barely understood. He fixed the dripping bathroom faucet without being asked. He sat quietly at the dinner table, listening to Henry talk about science projects and superhero theories like they were the most important things in the world. And Claire, she watched the way her son slowly stopped calling him that man, began calling him Jake. She noticed how Henry's laugh came more easily when Jake was around, and how he started waiting for him by the front window after school, pretending not to care. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever would be. But it was something. One Saturday afternoon, Claire found herself standing in the hallway, just outside Henry's bedroom. The door was cracked open. Inside, Jake and Henry were hunched over a model rocket kit, their voices low and full of concentration. "You sure that piece goes there?" Jake asked. "I'm positive," Henry replied with the confidence only a 10-year-old could have. "I read the instructions twice." Jake chuckled. "Then I guess you're the boss." Claire smiled, her chest tight. She hadn't realized she was holding her breath. Later that evening, when Henry had fallen asleep on the couch with a blanket tucked under his chin, Claire and Jake sat on the back porch in silence. Stars above were scattered like forgotten wishes. Jake broke the silence first. "It's amazing." "He is," Claire said softly, her eyes on the sky. Jake looked at her, his voice heavy. "I missed so much." Claire didn't reply right away. Her fingers wrapped around her coffee mug, her thumb tracing slow circles across the ceramic. She wanted to say that, yes, he had missed everything: his first steps, his first words, the nightmares, the birthdays, the scraped knees. But those words felt too sharp, too final. And tonight wasn't a night for wounds. It was a night for truth. "He's still here," she said finally. "And so are you." Jake turned toward her. "I still love you, Claire. I don't expect you to say it back, but I need you to know that." She met his eyes, and for a moment the years between them disappeared. He was still the boy who used to sing to her on long drives, the one who called her Claire Bear when no one was around, the one who'd once promised her the stars. He was also the man who broke her heart. But maybe, just maybe, he could be the man who helped heal it too. "I don't know if I'm ready," she whispered. "I've lived a long time without you." Jake nodded. "Then I'll wait." The simplicity of it made her eyes sting. A few nights later, Henry asked Claire a question she hadn't been ready for. "Mom," he said as she tucked him into bed, "is Jake my dad?" Claire sat down slowly at the edge of the bed. She knew this moment would come. She had rehearsed it in her mind 100 different ways. But now that it was here, her throat felt dry. "Yes," she said gently, "he is." Henry didn't say anything for a long moment. His small fingers played with the corner of his blanket. "Did he leave because he didn't want me?" Claire's heart broke a little. She brushed a hand through his hair. "No, sweetheart. He didn't even know you were coming. And when he found out, he came back. Not everyone gets that kind of courage." Henry looked at her. "Do you think he's going to stay this time?" She smiled, her eyes full. "I think he's trying really hard too." Henry nodded, thoughtful. Okay, that was it. No tantrums. No tears. Just quiet understanding, the kind children often grasp far better than adults. And from that day on, things slowly shifted. Henry started calling him Dad. Not all the time. Not right away. But enough to make Jake cry the first time he heard it. 1. Late afternoon, Jake and Claire stood in the kitchen while dinner simmered on the stove. Henry was in the living room, building something with Legos, humming to himself. Claire turned to Jake. "You're doing good with him." He smiled. "He's easy to love. So was I." she said softly. Jake looked at her, eyes full. You still are. Claire hesitated, her hand on the counter. She could feel the old pain still lingering in her chest, but it was quieter now. Softer. Let's go slow, she said. I can't promise anything. He stepped closer, not touching her, just near enough to feel the warmth. Slow is good. I'm not going anywhere. And she believed him, for the first time in years. She actually believed him. Epilogue still makes me wonder. Years later, Claire would still think about that morning. That ordinary autumn day when her son knocked on the bathroom door with cereal in one hand and a question in his voice. Mom, there's a man at the door. He says he knows you. Would remember the way her heart had skipped. The way her past had come crashing back into her quiet little life. She would remember the man standing on her porch in the rain, soaked with regret and silent hope. And she would think about what might be happened if she had chosen not to open the door. But most of all, she'd remember what happened because she did. Some things break you. Some things save you. And some things return to you when you least expect them, older, humbler, and finally ready to stay. Jake nodded slowly. I know I have a lot to make up for. She searched his face, searching for the boy she once loved. The man she could trust, or even just a sign that he was still the person who knew her best. What do you want from me, Jake? She asked, voice wavering. He took a deep breath, the cold air filling his lungs like a chance at redemption, to start over. To be honest, to be there for Henry. For you. Claire looked past him, out into the rain-soaked street. The small town felt different somehow. The places they had once dreamed about, now quiet reminders of the life they had lost. She wondered if she was ready to open the door to a past she thought was closed forever. Jake's voice broke her thoughts. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance. She bit her lip. It won't be easy. I know, he said. But I'm willing to try. The silence between them was heavy, but not cold. It was full of years spent apart, mistakes made, and a hope that maybe, just maybe, there was still something worth fighting for. Claire finally nodded. You can come inside, but only for a little while. Jake's face brightened with a cautious hope. As he stepped into the house, Claire felt the weight of every moment between them, every unsaid word, every stolen dream, every lost chance. Her heart ached. But it was alive again, and she knew this was only the beginning. That night, the house was quiet in a way that felt both comforting and painfully empty. The soft hum of the heater filled the silence, but Claire couldn't settle. She sat at the kitchen table, her fingers wrapped around a mug of cold coffee, eyes staring blankly at the photograph pinned to the fridge. It was a picture of Henry, a bright-eyed boy with a messy mop of chestnut hair, a crooked smile, and cheeks still dotted with chocolate ice cream stains. He was caught mid-laugh, the kind of laugh that made Claire's heart lift and break all at once. He looked so much like her, yet sometimes when he tilted his head just right or furrowed his brow in concentration, she saw the ghost of someone else. Jake. The idea made her chest tighten. Her son was the living, breathing reminder of a love she thought she had lost forever. The years without Jake had been hard, but they had shaped her into a mother who never wanted to leave Henry's side. And now, the man who walked away from all of it was here, sitting quietly in her living room, unsure how to fit into this new life he'd never been part of. Claire glanced at the clock. Henry was asleep upstairs, tucked safely in his bed, dreaming of adventures Claire barely knew how to imagine for him anymore. The boy had never asked about his father, not directly. She'd always been careful with the truth, painting Jake as someone who loved us from far away, protecting Henry from the pain of abandonment. But the truth was heavier than any lie. She wanted to believe Jake was different now, that he had grown into the man she hoped he could be. But the years of absence echoed in every hesitation, every quiet glance exchanged between them. The next morning, Claire found Jake sitting on the worn wooden bench in the small town parka. place where they had once spent lazy summer afternoons dreaming about the future. The air was crisp, the sky a soft blanket of gray, and the fallen leaves crunched beneath her boots as she approached. He looked up when he heard her, and for a moment the years melted away. He was still the same boy who had held her hand with nervous certainty, the same man whose presence stirred something inside her that she thought had died. "I should have told you," Claire said, her voice trembling with regret. Jake nodded slowly. "I know." They sat side by side, the space between them filled with memories and words unsaid. "I should have stayed," he admitted. "I was scared, but I was wrong. You deserved more than a goodbye." Claire swallowed hard, feeling the weight of those words settle deep inside her. She thought of Henry, how every smile, every laugh carried a piece of Jake within it. "Do you want to be part of his life?" she asked, searching his face for honesty. Jake's eyes were steady. "More than anything." She nodded slowly, unsure of what the future held, but certain of one thing: this was only the beginning of a long road ahead. "Then you'll have to earn it," she said softly. Jake smiled, a mixture of relief and hope in his eyes. "I want to." As the days turned into weeks, Jake began to show up not just as a visitor, but as a presence. He helped with small things around the house, fixed the creaky fence Henry loved to climb, and brought books from the library to share with her son. Henry, initially cautious, slowly warmed to Jake's quiet kindness. Drawn in by his patience and gentle humor, Claire watched from a distance, her heart a fragile mix of hope and fear. One evening, as Henry slept, Claire and Jake sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets against the chill. The stars blinked softly overhead, and the night carried a stillness that felt like a promise. "I'm still in love with you," Jake whispered, breaking the silence. Claire's breath caught. Her hands trembled as she looked at the man who had once been her everything and might still be. "I never stopped," he added. Tears filled her eyes, tears for the love lost, the pain endured, and the possibility of something new. "You broke me, Jake," she said, voice shaking. "You broke the part of me that believed in happy endings." He reached out, his hand warm and steady, covering hers. "Then let me help you build a new one," he said. And for the first time in a long time, Claire allowed herself to believe in the beauty of second chances. It was the kind of soft, sleepy morning that crept in slowly, wrapped in a gray sky, wet leaves, and the sound of quiet. In the little town of Silver Glen, Oregon, mornings like this had a rhythm of their own. The coffee percolated in old pots. Radios played faint country tunes from open kitchen windows, and the smell of rain-soaked earth drifted through every cracked screen door. Claire never liked mornings, not since she'd learned that sometimes waking up just meant remembering everything you had lost the night before. She had just stepped out of the shower, the warm steam still fogging the mirror as she reached for her robe. Her chestnut hair dripped down her shoulders, and she sighed, pulling her towel tighter around her. She was thinking about nothing and everything all at once: what to pack in Henry's lunchbox, whether the roof still needed patching before winter. How strange it felt to do all these things alone. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps. Then a pause. "Mom." Henry's voice came from the other side of the bathroom door, gentle and uncertain. "There's a man at the door. He says he knows you." Claire froze. At first, she thought she misheard him. Her hand gripped the edge of the sink as her breath caught halfway in her chest. "A man," she echoed, her voice trembling just slightly. "Did he say his name?" Henry hesitated, the way children do when they're not sure if something is important or dangerous. "Yeah, he said his name is Jake." Claire's fingers went slack. The towel nearly slipped from her hands. "Jake." The name hit her like an old echo from another life, sharp and soft all at once. She hadn't heard it in years. Not since the fall of 2014, when he packed his things, kissed her forehead with shaking lips, and walked out of her world without a backward glance. He didn't know she was pregnant. He didn't even say goodbye properly. The last 10 years of her Life had been spent building a world without him in it. It's a world for Henry, one with steadiness, routine, and love that didn't vanish in the middle of the night. And now he was standing at her door. Claire tightened her robe and opened the bathroom door slowly. Henry stood in the hallway, eyes wide, holding a bowl of cereal in one hand and curiosity in the other. "What does he want?" Claire asked, not even sure she was ready to hear the answer. "I dunno," Henry shrugged. He just smiled a little. "He looks kind of sad." Claire's heart dropped. She moved past her son, pausing just long enough to press her lips to his head. "Stay inside," she said gently. "I'll handle it." Through the living room window, she saw him, Jake Taylor. Older, broader in the shoulders, and dressed in a weathered flannel that looked as tired as he did. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets, rocking slightly on his heels. His dark blonde hair was flecked with gray now, but it was still Jake, still the boy who used to sing to her on car rides and kiss the inside of her wrist just to make her laugh. Claire stepped onto the porch. The wind tugged at the loose strands of her hair, and the sky above them threatened rain. Jake turned when he heard the door open. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, time seemed to hang in the air like the space between a heartbeat and a tear. "Claire," he said, his voice raw and almost too quiet. "Hi." She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She just stood there, searching his face for answers that weren't coming fast enough. "I was just passing through," he added. "Didn't expect to, I mean. I didn't think I'd open the door," she said sharply, folding her arms across her chest. "Or you didn't think I'd still be here, living the life you walked away from?" Jake looked down at the ground. "I didn't know what to expect. I needed to see you." Claire's heart warred with itself, half of it still angry, the other half betraying her with its ache. She remembered too much. The warmth of his hand in hers. The way he used to say her name like a promise. The night he left when he told her she deserved more than he could give. And maybe she did. But he never gave her the chance to decide. "You have no right to show up like this," she said, trying to keep her voice from cracking. "I know." He replied quickly. "I know I don't. I just been thinking about you for years, and I didn't know how to fix things. I didn't even know where to start." "You don't get to fix things," she whispered. "You don't even know what you broke." He looked up at her then, and she saw something in his eyes, something hollow and haunted. Regret, maybe, or longing, or guilt. "Is that your son?" he asked softly, nodding toward the house. Claire's throat tightened. "Yes." Jake swallowed. "He looks a little like you." Her eyes hardened. "No," she said quietly. "He looks like you." Jake's breath caught. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The wind picked up, and the rain finally began to fall, soft scattered drops tapping on the porch roof like tiny memories returning home. Claire looked away. She couldn't trust herself to keep standing there, letting him look at her like that. "You shouldn't have come," she said, turning back toward the door. But before she went inside, she paused. Just long enough for Jake to see at the storm behind her eyes, the kind of heartbreak that doesn't disappear just because time passes. And then she disappeared back into the house, leaving him on the porch with the weight of 10 years between them. Jake stood on Claire's porch like a man caught between two worlds, unsure which one he belonged to anymore. The soft drizzle from the morning rain had turned into a steady fall, wetting his flannel shirt and darkening the soil beneath his boots. His breath came in small puffs, visible in the cool Oregon air. He felt like an outsider who'd wandered back into a story he was never meant to finish. Claire didn't invite him in. The door stayed wide open, just enough to let the cold wind sneak inside, but closed enough to keep the fragile barrier between their past and the uncertain present. "I don't know why I'm here," Jake admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. He glanced away, ashamed of how small he suddenly felt. I needed to see you." Claire's heart thudded painfully, a mix of anger, fear, and something deeper she refused to name. She watched him carefully, her arms crossed, body tense but not quite ready to push him away. You left, she said, steady but cold. You disappeared without a word. Without a goodbye. Jake's shoulders sagged under the weight of those words. I was scared. Back then, I thought running away was the only way I could protect you. Claire raised an eyebrow. Protect me. From what? From myself, Jake confessed. From being the man I didn't know how to be. Her eyes narrowed. You could have told me. I wanted to, he said, voice cracking. But every time I tried, I lost the courage. I thought if I stayed, I'd only hold you back. You had dreams, things I couldn't give you. Claire's gaze softened despite herself. She remembered those dreams. College, travel, a family that was whole and happy. But when she found out she was pregnant, everything shifted. Suddenly, her dreams folded into a smaller space. One that only had room for Henry and the quiet life she'd built for him. Jake took a step forward, but Claire didn't move. Why now? She asked almost too quietly. Why come back after all this time? He looked up, his eyes tired but honest. Because I realized what I lost. And because I want to try to be part of your life, if you'll let me. The words struck her, like a gentle but persistent tide washing over the walls she'd built around her heart.
Okay.
She looked at the boy watching them from inside, clutching his cereal bowl with wide eyes full of questions he didn't dare voice. He's my son, Claire said firmly, as if reminding Jack and herself of a truth that couldn't be erased. His name is Henry. He's 10. Jake's breath caught. He looked stunned, as if the years suddenly made sense all at once. 10. That means, he trailed off, unsure if he wanted to finish the sentence. Claire stared at the doorframe. Yes, he's yours. But that doesn't mean you get to step back in as if nothing happened.